Andrea Capek,
Yes, hello.
longtime realtor. You've been on the show, I think, once. It's been a while.
No.
Oh, we did a group one a long time ago.
We did a group one a long time ago with John Wiltshire.
Yeah, so two minds are better than one, and we're going to talk about some of the top questions realtors get asked. I'm interested to hear your take in today's video.
Yes.
Andrea, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell the people of the YouTube and whoever's going to see this where you work, how long you've been doing real estate.
So I work with Exit King Realty. I have been there I just celebrated in December my 20th year at Exit King Realty. 24 wow. Total in real estate, which is how I originally met Shayla when we were working for, going far back, Remax Properties.
Oh man, back in the day.
Were you in the old building?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It was an old dental office.
Yep.
So.
Yep. On Weber Street, and that was from 2001 to 2005. I was there, and then the team that I worked with opened up an exit office, and I went with them. So I've been there for 20 years, 24 total, 25 total real estate.
So
years.
You're new. You're fairly new in the business now.
So new. I'm forgetting how long.
Yeah. Well, that's a loyal agent to stay with a company that long, because so much has changed in the time that we've been selling real estate. Now it's AI. If it wasn't like the MLS, then Zillow, and we've seen so many changes in so many markets.
And so many different markets. I mean, I stayed at Exit during some of the crazy boom, 2005, and then when everything went kind of sideways between 2008, 2010, and then everything got back to normal. So I've stayed there throughout all of those. But they're a good company, and I'm happy there. So, and loyalty can go a long way. So,
and no matter how long we've been in the business, some of the same questions arise from whether you're selling or purchasing real estate. And we're going to do like some of the top questions that we get. These are tried and true. These are asked in no matter what market, right?
Yep.
So, I guess I'll start. What's my question?
So when is the best time to list?
Don't you get asked that all the time?
All the time.
Generally speaking, this is how I answer it. Sarasota is not as seasonal as we were years and years ago. But if you had to say a generalization, February, March, April, May, February to April to list is like ideal. January is kind of a weird month because it's like you're just coming out of after the holidays, after the first of the year, people coming back to some normalcy. That being said, some of my summers have actually been the most productive, and people don't think that.
I tell people sometimes I've had my busiest in July and August.
See, exactly. It's not, it's all year. Yep. It's pretty much all year. The only months I would say not is August and September. How would you answer that?
August is okay. September is always generally slow, but I think that's because people are going back to school.
Yeah.
So we see like July and August when people are coming, especially if they're moving here, I think, with kids and getting kids into school and started. But then September slows down and then it picks back up in October. So historically, I've seen slower months in September.
And we're really hot and humid here, so that's when we go on vacation. Like we try to go on vacation when it's just boiling hot. So if you're a buyer coming down here in August, September range, you are serious. You're serious.
You're ready.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Andrea, why aren't we getting more showings? I'm a seller. Why aren't we getting more showings?
So based on what I've looked at, a lot of times, especially right now, because we are in more of a normal market, it's probably price. It's probably based on what everything else is going on.
What she said.
What I generally do with my sellers too, especially if we go through an initial pricing strategy and they maybe want to do a little bit higher than I suggest, which happens a lot. And if I feel comfortable with that, then sometimes we're okay. And then the first 2 weeks, I'll do a price assessment of what else is going on in the neighborhood or anything surrounding. And then again, in another 30 days. And when you're an agent who's doing that and keeping the sellers updated on everything and showing them these are the ones that have gone pending or these are the ones that have sold in the last 30 days, it can kind of give them a little bit of a leverage of what the market's doing.
What a breath of fresh air, because I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm on an island. Am I the only one doing this? And then after all is said and done, they're like, wow, you really kept me apprised. Like, you don't like leave us hanging for days and weeks on end without any communication. Like they probably do follow the market, especially if you're selling, but not as much as we are. And they're looking to us for guidance.
Yes.
And price is a huge, huge thing.
Part of our job is where we're going to position your house. And, if you are in a $500,000 neighborhood and you're asking $1 million, so, right?
Well, okay, perfect example. We were just talking off camera. I just sold today full price in Forest Lakes Country Club. We priced it at $899, full price cash in one day. But then there's another one. They did a beautiful pricing. I think it's on Brookhaven. Okay. I've mentioned this in, I think, the last video. Beautifully updated with a pool, but like they didn't do some things like, when you go out to the pool and it has like the old stones, like stuff like that, but you're asking $1.5 million in Forest Lakes. Yeah. So it's sitting. So other listings like mine have come and gone and come and gone. So it's just like, there's no point. At some point, some sellers over improve and they're selling too quickly to catch up to the market.
Buyers are smarter right now. They've got access to more things. Yeah. We have access. We can look at the MLS. We can look at what things are doing. But buyers are out there actually. They're going to the internet first, and so they're seeing what's out there. So they're going to go after what is priced well and makes sense.
Yeah, I think one other thing I would add to that, because I'm always the one talking about price. Why don't we have more showings? Remember, post NAR settlement, buyers do have to sign a buyer broker agreement or a showing agreement. And if they're not serious, or like they're probably not going to sign it, so you're probably not going to get that extra few showings like we did maybe a few years ago. But it's less cleaning you have to do, less leaving the house than you have to do, and less wondering like, why do these people see it and not write an offer kind of thing. Well, they're not serious if they're not ready to sign a showing agreement with an agent, which is required.
Yeah. And I think that actually, ultimately, that's a good point too. I never really thought of it that way, because you're only bringing in buyers that are a lot more serious.
They're serious.
Than the ones who are like, hey, I kind of like this neighborhood. Yeah. Can you just get me in just to see it?
Or don't you love this? Right. Hey, we're here on vacation. And I'm like, okay. I mean, from that standpoint, I'm glad we have this. Yeah. Like it should have been, this is a business, and it shows your level of seriousness.
It has helped in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then it's actually less work in a sense for the showing. So, okay. Question number 3 is,
can we list high and just lower the price later?
You certainly can. I think it's a fine line between just grossly overpricing, like, and if you don't have showings within the first 2 weeks, let's say under $1 million, it's probably indicative that it's going to be priced high. Some very unique properties in the upper tier, it's not uncommon, because as you get into these price bands, it's like there's less and less buyers. So if it's a highly unique property, it might not necessarily be the case, and you just have to wait for the right buyer, I guess. But you know what, one thing I do is at listing appointments, I print out the history of some of the comps, like the pending and sold. So it's like, look at how many times they lower it, so you can see. Look at how many times the guy lowered. If he just would have started here with the price he ended,
sometimes you probably would have actually netted more.
Almost always.
Almost always.
Yeah.
One of the things I try to explain is that first 2 weeks is the most crucial.
Yeah.
Because if you have a neighborhood that has, just for sake of numbers, 10 listings that are all kind of similar, the buyers that want to be in that neighborhood have seen all the other ones first. Now yours pops up. They want to get in there and see it.
The shiny penny.
Right. So that first 2 weeks, so that's why the pricing is crucial. And a lot of times when they start too high and they come down, then I see that's stale. Where they can net and they get stale. Buyers tend to ask what's wrong with it, even though there's nothing wrong with it. That's another common question that I get from the buyer standpoint.
What's wrong with
it? And I always try to explain probably nothing, it's just a matter of it's been, on the market a little while because they priced too high.
Well, and all it takes is for one of the neighbors to just undercut, and now that's the new market. So we could do everything right as an agent or collaboratively with the seller in talking, because it's not us dictating, it's the market, it's talking through, like, are you motivated or whatever. And then the neighbor just prices it 100,000 less, and you're like, and it's just,
and that's now what the comps are going to be based off of.
Yeah. So it's just, that's why you have to have the conversations like she does, the follow through with the market. Like as it changes, it's fluid.
And what it's doing, right?
Andrea, what do you do differently as an agent? You just put it in the MLS. That's it?
Yes,
that's easy.
And then I do an open house. So I like to think there's a couple things I do different. One of them I attribute to is my customer service.
Yeah.
I answer the phone. One of the things that sellers
do,
I do. It's crazy. When people call, and if I miss the call, I call them back
or like text back right away.
Yeah. One of the things that we get asked a lot is, what do you do differently? And I think it's my customer service. One of the things that sellers also don't see, you've got to remember too, they're not seeing things on the back end. So they're not seeing the calls that I'm getting at 7:00 at night, that I'm getting up from dinner and answering if a buyer calls with a question or an agent calls with a question, all of those things. And I don't ever miss anything. And then there are other things too that we can do through MLS to look at, agents that are looking at our listings or our properties, and
reverse prospecting.
There's another thing through Showing Time that's pretty cool now too.
Tell me.
I'll just tell you that. All of those things that, and so what I try to do too is every week I give the seller a report of the things that I've done, because again, they're not seeing,
like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're not seeing those phone calls. They're not seeing those text messages. They're not seeing the agents who called to ask me questions before they scheduled a showing. So I want them to know that.
And if you're a seller, you want to know. I would want to know. Yeah. I would be that micromanaging. I'd probably be the worst seller for an agent. I'd be like, so what did you do this week? Where's my money going? I would hate to, I'd hate to be like that. But
the sellers I have right now are pretty good, but I also keep them updated on everything at least once a week.
Yeah.
Like even if, especially, and it can get frustrating when we're in a market a little bit more like this, where you don't have showings every day. So I like to let them know, okay, we may have not had showings, but I did get 3 phone calls this week.
Right.
And they were questions.
And how did they go?
Right. And either the question was, this, and that doesn't work for their buyer, so they don't know, but at least they know something, what's going on.
Yeah, it's something. You're not just sitting and waiting and doing nothing. Like there's so much in the back end too, like with AI now, that I just went to a webinar last week through the Institute, and I took like 7 pages of notes, like even just with AI getting found, if I'm found, your listing's getting found. And like, if I know what I'm doing with AI, I can optimize your listing too, and things like that. I would say for me, one of the main things I do differently is align with what you do. And that is like within the first 7 to 10 days, 2 weeks, sometimes to make sure like the advertising gets out there. I do like this really long email to show them exactly everything, and they can click back at it and see the new, like the updated views on stuff. And it's very long, it's very detailed. And then just ongoing, like you said, like, what are you doing?
List track is another good
List track is amazing.
List track, that's really good.
Yeah.
And that shows them like how often their property is getting seen.
Yep.
And I get really good feedback when I send that too.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, that's actually really cool.
Gosh, it's like where are the buyers coming
from? It shows how many times they've come back. It shows how
much they're stalking.
So like people are out there, right? The ones that are exactly. So that's another good one too. So
and maybe like, hey, we've had this many showing or this many views, but we haven't had the showings. And like, I've done all the marketing. The only other thing to do is change what we can control. Control what we control, because we can't control much of anything in the world. Right. What do you think that's going to be?
Another way I explain it to sellers is, especially if they have a house that has like really great special features, all this really cool stuff. And I tell them I can't show people that really cool stuff if I don't get them in there.
Yep.
And that initial getting them in is the price strategy.
And commission comes into play a little bit too, like being able to promote the commission.
Yeah, right.
Like when an agent asks, because one of the first questions we get asked as a listing agent is, "What is the commission?" How do you answer that? Does it depend, or?
It does depend. Here's what I'm finding is that our listing agreement says X, And so I do tell people that. But
X.
a lot of times, X, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But a lot of times agents are still coming in with their offer and asking for something else.
Okay.
I'm noticing that a lot.
Okay.
So then that's where it becomes the negotiating point is, so, we have to present it to the seller, and then the seller comes back and decides.
Yeah.
Right? So I do tell the agents what is in our listing agreement, and if it's what their buyer's agreement says, then it's usually okay. Yeah. If it's less, then sometimes they'll still come in and ask, and then it's up to the agent, from that point, what they want to do. How will you market my home?
I'm so glad you asked. Well, there's all the tried and true things, right? Like the MLS, obviously, all the syndications, Zillow, Realtor, all the big names. But it's also like things that are different, like these YouTube videos. So not only do we do these just informative, but like every single listing I do a YouTube tour, because it's like one more thing,
right.
If these are hard to get into properties, like I have a listing that's a high frequency Airbnb turnover property, and like if they can't get in, they're like, hey, could you have any other video or something? I found it to be really helpful. So just things like that, that are different that I do. Door knocking. Have you ever door knocked?
I have.
You hate it. You don't like it. You don't like it.
I don't like it.
It depends on where you door knocked.
It does. And then,
she's like, it says no solicitation.
I know.
But I'm door knocking.
I have in those neighborhoods before, and I've gotten yelled at a couple times. So now I'm a little bit more careful with it.
Right.
But the videos, I think right now is a really good point, because there's an agent that I work with, and he's a newer agent, but I really appreciate what he's doing because he's got like a good social media following. He's good in front of the camera. So he's going out to some of our listings and doing these little videos on them.
That's great.
And it's been getting
content.
2 of them that he did for me recently just went under contract. So I'm like, you're like the good luck, So I think all of those things, the more you can push it out in front of people, the more anything like that, I think is something that's just exposure. Any sense of exposure.
And like depending on the property and the price band too, like properties get picked up by different publications, like the James Edition, the Wall Street Journal. That's there are certain price bands for those, like so you have to qualify for those certain publications. But also because we've been doing this a minute, we get calls from like unique magazines. Like I remember getting called from Executive Magazine, and I was able to put my listing on the cover, and it was like a nominal cost. Normally it would cost X amount. They gave me kind of a break on it, so I was able to put my listings on magazine covers and just any other advertising that we do outside, like Real Producer magazine or other publications. It just helps drive traffic to our listings ultimately. If they find us, they find your listings, Andrea, this is actually a buyer question. This is our last question. There's plenty more where this came from, but
we could go on forever.
But totally.
How much time you got?
Totally. You're like, I stopped watching this video. Okay. Is now a good time to buy?
I am going to say a good time to buy is whenever you are ready.
Ooh.
I think.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. I think, we all also, it's also kind of sometimes, personal. Right now, people are talking about interest rates and, all those things, but we're also in a really good, steady market, I think, right now. Where your video
healthy.
The other day, it's healthy. It's things like, I loved your video the other day. You're like, things aren't supposed to sell in an hour.
No,
like,
it's not normal.
Not normal.
An hour.
I think
27 offers. That's not. Don't expect that.
Yeah, like I remember putting stuff in MLS, in the first 10 minutes I had 3 showings. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, I think a really good time to buy. I think now is perfect, and I think it's a matter of whatever time is right for you. We're in a market that's staying steady, it's staying healthy, you have time, you're not making emotional decisions on your purchases. You have time to look at a couple properties, you have time to think about it, what works best for you, and what makes the most sense. And I think that is probably the best way to answer that.
Yeah, everybody's lifestyles.
Right.
Life happens, health, marriage, divorce, kids, like there's all kinds of reasons and seasons, and I'm down with that answer. Yeah. I think buyers too have kind of gotten more comfortable with the rates and the question of, I'm waiting for rates, and it's like nobody can time the market, get the price down. I just closed one last week they got 5.99. That's not a bad rate.
No, it's not. And when buyers start to say, well, I'm waiting for the rates, my question is kind of like, well, what are you waiting for?
What's the bigger picture?
Right, because if you're waiting for 2% again, we're not going to be there for a while.
We're going to be very gray.
Remember, everyth's kind of relative too, because you had 2%, but then you were paying $100,000 over asking.
True.
Right?
True.
Now the rates are kind of, I think, pretty average and good, and you can go in and you can make some offers, you can get some,
and not feel that pressure,
and not feel the emotional pressure of I have to have this house and I have to, and you're making I think personally a sound financial decision.
With it's generally people's biggest asset in a lifetime, and it's to feel that pressure like we had, it wasn't fun even for a listing agent, because you upset somebody or multiple people in that process. But remember to put things into perspective too, I like to do this with just anybody that'll listen because it puts things into perspective about the market and how actually healthy it is, because we're at like about a 5-month level inventory for single family homes.
Right. So we're kind of right in that middle of
normal. It's kind of, I don't know what normal is anymore, let's be honest, but it's normal.
I totally think this market is reminding me a little bit of like 2018.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, maybe, before the craze,
where, because I've generally the last decade or so been more of a listing agent. So I can gauge like what my listings have been doing. So when the ones that I sold in 2022 had 29 offers in the first day, now I'm like, all right, price well, 30 to 60 days, couple of showings, an offer that we negotiate a couple of times. To me, that's healthy.
Yeah.
And it's not as stressful. I was so stressed out back then.
Okay, but also the stress of the Great Recession was a 56-month level of inventory, and we're at 5 months, so I'm not complaining. So that's like when I compare this for sellers or buyers when we're having the conversations, like, this is normal, because imagine listing your house now and you're at 56 months. Or they're going to look at every house on the block and then the next block and the next block, because there's like 5 in a row for sale.
There was one time back then that I showed 22 houses, 22 condos.
I'm so tired.
22 condos in one day.
Oh.
And the buyer was, and I told him, I said, we should probably break this up.
Like
and they were condos, so we could kind of like walk to them,
I've done it.
But
I've done it.
And I remember that day so clearly, because he's like, no, let's go ahead. And I said, you're going to start forgetting what.
No, I'm actually starving. I'm dehydrated. Yeah, right? I got to go.
And I think it was in the summer too.
It's too much.
So,
in the summer, and you're just like, I lost 10 pounds.
Yeah. And I remember that day, and then by like the 10th one, he's like, you're right, I am kind of forgetting her. I said, start taking notes. We'll go see the rest of them.
That's right, because how many times I did that back in the day, because there was so much inventory, you guys. This is nothing. And you're just like, okay, well, we're gonna need to take a break, because you're gonna be hungry. You have to have bathroom breaks. They need a minute. And how are you even remembering half of what you saw?
And especially in a condo neighborhood. Like at one point, like they all start looking the same.
And like, how are we picking? I'm just curious. Like,
they did buy one. But I think even then it was based on price, probably.
Or remember going from like Longboat to Siesta in one day. I'm like, nah, you just learn from your mistakes. Yeah. And sometimes people still might need to do that. I get that. Everybody's different. We're being kind of extreme, because that was an extreme market. That was extreme.
That was crazy.
And likewise, 2020 was extreme. There was like the lowest was like 2 weeks of inventory. I think that was
probably
the low.
I mean, I can sit here, like we can do a whole nother video if you want on like the listings I had at that time, and like the way people were fighting over them, and I was like, the roof's caving in.
It's fine. We don't need a roof.
It's like, I mean, houses that needed a lot of work, and people were like, I want it.
I have to have it. It's immaculate. It's move-in ready. It's like there's cockroaches.
House. Yeah, right. So, that was extreme, and 2008 was extreme. But 2008 too, remember too, there was a lot of short sales, and so it was also very patient. I mean, that was if you are working with an agent like us that went through that, we
deserve a medal.
Yeah, like, I mean, we have fought and we have clawed and we have survived.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, like people, I
That
heard,
was a hard time.
I know it was,
Yeah.
and I don't know if Ricky Caruth or Michael Bordenero on one of the videos I saw, like agents are dropping out of the business, which is like, okay, that's great. We probably don't need, and we hear this in every market.
This happens every market.
Whatever,
remember
5-10 years.
Yeah, I mean, remember like 2004 and 5 was kind of like 20, 21, 22, I think.
Yeah, I forget my dates.
And a lot of agents got in when the given was good, and so then they started to drop off.
Yeah.
During 2007, 8, 9, obviously. And it's kind of happening again, but it's it's that I'm okay with that too, because it's going to keep the strong ones who are willing to work hard.
Yeah, been through the flames.
Been through it.
I have a listing right now too, because it made me think of people that are part-time, and I can't tell you how frustrating. Like I had an agent that showed one of my listings. She tells me she's part-time, so she's a part-time realtor, and which is fine. I understand that. But when you're calling me on a Monday and saying we're going to put an offer in, but then doesn't even follow up with me till like Saturday, doesn't even like communication, there's no continuity. Her questions would be one today, one the next day, and like me, I know the questions. I don't off the top of my head. She was getting guidance from her broker, which again I understand, but like, you're making me question whether your buyer is serious too, and like, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
because she doesn't know what she doesn't know, and she's getting questions from her broker, and
then well, that comes down a little bit to the question that you gave to me, which was, what are you going to do different? It's customer service. Those unfortunate efficiency, and unfortunately sometimes those part-time agents, they're not getting the good direction, or if they've got another job that's getting the most of their attention, and it's really hard.
It was the most,
and it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating to us.
It was a very haphazard, I would almost say borderline unprofessional, because I had her calling, her broker calling, and listen, if this ultimately facilitates a sale for my seller, great. But they were getting frustrated. I was like, what are we doing here? I don't think you're serious, and I don't think you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's sometimes, and unfortunately the sellers come back at us like, well, you said that this was coming in, but we're trying the best that we are trying the best that we can on our side.
Or we don't get paid.
But we're getting questions from somebody else, and sometimes, and if they fall off, and sometimes we never hear from them again anyway.
It's not for lack of follow through, and
it's not on our side.
Yeah.
But it does happen a lot, I think, where people will say we have an offer coming, and then we don't hear anything.
I just stopped telling my sellers because
it's
literally nothing until it's something. Even if you have a showing, it's nothing until it's something.
Yeah.
Yes, is that a good sign? And it's like it's really not anything until they put it on paper. And she was also doing like these verbals, and I'm like, okay, but what about the terms? Like, are you giving me a $500 escrow deposit? Because that ain't gonna work. Like, what does the rest of this look like?
With the verbal offers, I have in my listing agreements that I don't present them anyway.
You don't?
No.
Yeah, that's the same with me. Like,
because
a verbal, you're basically you're negotiating against your seller,
right? And it's also not only that; it's also happened so many times where I'll get something and then I'll call them back, and then they don't return my call, or I never hear from them again.
I don't understand this.
So, or I have, like years ago, done the verbal thing and gotten kind of an agreement with the price, and then gotten the offer, and it's like
not even what you talked about.
They have like 3 houses they have to sell in different states before
terms.
Like there's terms that you have to agree to. So it's like, well, we want to close in 8 months because we have
and then we look like
Indiana,
a schmuck.
Alabama, and then we look really bad. And it's like, yeah, well, the price is good, but these terms really. So
like I have one that's on the table right now, sort of. I say that loosely. It's written.
Yeah, okay.
It's $1,000 in escrow.
Yeah, I know.
And he was like, I countered. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's $1,000 in escrow, enough for you to take your house off the market and wait until they go through the inspection.
Yeah.
No.
And that's something that,
$1,000.
People like Shayla and I see those things because we've gone through, and we a lot of times, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I've learned the hard way over the years.
I have
where
too.
I've made a mistake or done something, so we've learned, what is solid and doing the best that we can for the people. Your listing is my responsibility.
And if we don't know, we have attorneys. We have all these other professionals. Like, I'm not going to play attorney. She's not going to play attorney. We can call them and they'll answer. We have our go-to people that will answer us right away. That's the value that you have in an agent like us, like that has been tried and true. So,
and good solid relationships. The attorney is a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, the lawyers that I've worked with, I've worked for 15 years.
Yeah.
So, they're great. They will answer my call. They'll, sometimes on a Sunday, which is crazy.
Well, that's when real estate happens too. And they know that, they understand that, and you're giving them business. It's mutually beneficial. And so, having that at our fingertips when we really need it.
Such a relationship business. And to me, the lawyer friends that I have that will answer my call on a Sunday or a Friday at 5:30, to me, that is just so valuable.
Yeah. And they know if I'm calling, because it's usually a text, but if it's really important and I'm calling you like on a Saturday at noon or something, I don't take advantage of that relationship. If I call, it is really critical. Like I kind of need a legal answer like very soon because it's for the benefit of our clients. But
I appreciate them so much.
We could have just gone with the rest of these questions, but whatever. That's another video. It's another video. Thank you for coming on. And how did the people get a hold of you?
My name is Andrea Capek. I work, again, Exit King Realty out of the Sarasota office. We do have 2 other offices in Lakewood Ranch and Venice. And my phone number is 941-468-1611.
And y'all know how to get a hold of me. Like, subscribe, share, comment. We love your comments. And any other topics that you want us to cover. We're always searching for things to talk about. We can just go on and on about it. But I can be reached at 941-544-7690.